the way the system is set?
It really is. You know, we are working to rebuild healthcare as it should be. And what does that mean? That means spending longitudinal relationships with our patients. That means really knowing them for years and years and years. Their families, knowing the supports and trust is really an endeavor. But I think it's something we've maybe drifted away from as a society. The good news is at Oak Street, we really invest the time so we can build the trust.
Now, we're here in our studio in California, but here we have concierge doctors, and you give them about $10,000 a year, and they, like the quarterback, they'll send you to the cardiologist, they'll send you to the internist, etc. And we don't have anything like that here in California. But is that kind of what Oak Street is? In a way, like a concierge kind of medicine?
Kind of, but the good news is that our patients don't have to spend $10,000 for the benefit of
it's covered by Medicare.
It's covered by Medicare. Okay. Folks can come in, they're seen by our team. If they're interested in becoming an Oak Street patient, we've got teams out there in our communities engaging with patients at grocery stores, at community events, and really, for lack of a better word, evangelizing about what we do. And they're going out and telling folks, hey, how can your health be better? What can we do to make your health better today versus where it was yesterday? And how can we ensure that tomorrow will even be better? And once we get folks interested in that vision, they come in, they meet our team. They meet first with what we call our patient relation manager, but in reality, they are an expert on all things Medicare and insurance. And they really help to make sure that, one, our patients are getting the most out of Medicare and out of the insurance that they have, and then ensuring that they can come and see an Oak Street provider. Once they then see that Oak Street provider, we go basically head to toe, top to bottom, making sure that we can develop a real kind of comprehensive care plan for our patients. A lot of our patients have 2, 3, 4 chronic conditions that they're dealing with at the same time: diabetes, heart disease, COPD, depression. These things don't exist in vacuums. They're not siloed off. They all interact with one another. And it's really important to be able to talk to your patient.
How do you do it differently at Oak Street? Let's say they have to see a specialist, maybe the endocrinologist, they have type 2 diabetes.
Right.
Isn't that still a problem? Even though they get to see you in a couple of days or tomorrow, if you have an opening, and usually you see them within 24 hours.
That's right.
But what if they have to see that endocrinologist?
So I'm glad you asked that. So the good news is that we now have integrated into our practice specialists who are able to give us insights about our patients within 1 hour. So the typical
a virtual,
I can basically pull in the expertise of a cardiologist, an expert in heart disease, an endocrinologist, an expert in disease like diabetes or thyroid disease, and get answers back from my patient within an hour to 40 or even 45 minutes.
So it saves them a trip to going.
Saves them a trip to another doctor, saves them a trip, and with all the costs that come from going to see another doctor, it really saves our patients a ton of time, and it gives them answers faster and allows us to begin care and treatment even faster.
So what about medical records? Getting to that cardiologist or the other specialist?
So we have a wonderful system that allows us to be able to take our primary care information and send it to the specialist as well. The specialist is able to delve into the labs, any imaging, any information.
And you can have a live conversation on the computer with that
Basically, it's a back and forth conversation, and then I get information back, which allows me to outline what our patients need. I'll even tell you a real quick story. Just this past weekend, I had a patient who was recently seen in one of our centers in Cleveland. This gentleman was told that there was something wrong with his heart, but no one had ever really followed up with it. The good news, we had in our center an ultrasound system that allowed us to be able to tell how sick his heart was. I was able to call him up over the weekend, tell him a little bit about what was going on, explain how we were going to change his care, prescribe him the right kinds of medications, and then provide next steps on how we were going to continue to evaluate him and keep his heart healthy. He was really grateful for that. He said no one had ever really spent that much time really investing in him on a weekend, really investing in him. But this is stuff that we do not only on our weekends, but also during our working days. I just think that good care can't wait. And I wanted to make sure that I could get this information to him as quickly as possible. And I was so grateful that I had this specialist insights right there at my fingertips within minutes, so I can give him the comfort and the reassurance that he was on the right path.
I hear about like cancer centers having a care team, but you have, and I was taking some quick notes when we were talking on the phone, like 11 or 12 people. So you have the doctor, the Medicare specialist that helps them with all the paperwork.
That's right.
You have a scribe, that means somebody that's your assistant right next to you, taking notes. social workers, mental health, PAs, medical assistant, welcome coordinator, 24/7 support, virtual specialist that you could talk to, activities director. Tell me about social workers. Why is a social worker part of primary care and important in primary care?
So there's a concept that's talked about a lot in healthcare today, the social determinants of health. That's things like access to food, access to housing, access to heat and in the winter and cool air in the summertime. That's sometimes things that we overlook in traditional Medicare and in traditional medicine. We don't usually spend the time and invest in creating the resources and ensuring that our patients have access to the resources that will ensure that they can stay healthy. Take, for example, a patient of mine recently has COPD, also needs an oxygen, needs supplemental oxygen. And one of the devices that helps this patient stay well is a nebulizer, a machine that literally aerosolizes medicine to allow him to breathe. He was having problems with paying his electrical bill. You can't take care of yourself with COPD if you don't have access to an electric, if your bills aren't being paid. So we were able to get the social worker involved, help us find ways to help him get his bills paid for, taken care of, and then we were able to ensure that he would be able to have access to his to have his nebulizer working in his home.
That's nice.
That's huge.
So, and this happens at all of your 150 plus centers, where if you need to get a social worker to help them with things like this,
exactly,
they're sent out to the house.
Yeah, so we've got a social worker right there in the center, and that social worker can ask questions right after their visit with me. With my scribe in the room with me, I can just turn to him or her and say, "Hey, can we bring the social worker in to see our patient after we finish?" They'll have that conversation and then give, again, reassuring and building trust with that patient, and ensuring that, hey, we're going to look after every aspect of this person's life.
Now, a lot of these patients, as you've informed me, that they're dealing with mental health issues, depression, anxiety. You take care of that as well.
Absolutely.
What do you do?
So a couple of things. One, we identify that the concern is there, and we provide a safe space for them to really share what they've been struggling with. You know, we've been dealing with the pandemic, and we've been dealing with the aftermath of that as well. It's really important that people recognize that a lot of people are struggling. And one of my first responsibilities is not just to think about my patient's heart and their lungs, but also their soul and their spirit. If I feel like something is going on, and if I have objective evidence to say that, hey, I think this person is depressed, the good news is I can turn to one of my behavioral health specialist colleagues and say, can we start seeing this patient regularly for some counseling? I also have the advantage of having psychiatry services built directly into our practice.
Is that right?
Exactly. So if I need to prescribe medicine, if a patient's willing to take those medicines, we can prescribe that to them and really help them to really feel well, not just feel healthy, but truly feel well.
Is it common, like a new patient, a doctor at Oak Street may spend 45 minutes with a patient?
Exactly, and that's probably the best part of the job. We really get a chance to get to know our patient from the very first visit. Our first visit with our patients is 45 minutes. We really seek to get to know them.
But that's just with the doctor.
That's just with the doctor. They've also spent time with a medical assistant who they're going to build a rapport with. They also get time with a nurse if they would like to talk to the nurse after the visit. They're also getting the chance to just know the rest of our team. So the whole team is really there to support them. They're going to come back 2 or 3 weeks later for our annual visit, and we're going to delve even deeper. We'll have spent time between the first visit and the second visit delving into that person's medical records. We'll get the records from every other place where they've gotten care up until that point, and we'll really ingest and understand that. And then we'll be able to kind of give them an executive summary to our patient and say, here are all the things that we think are issues of concern. Here's how we help. And we go through each one of those conditions with them, make sure that they understand how these conditions are affecting their lives, what steps we need to take in order to keep them healthy and happy.
What do patients say? So patients that are older patients, and they've been in primary care for quite some time on Medicare, or Medicaid and Medicare, and then they experience Oak Street. What do they say on day one? Like, what are some of their observations?
It's always one of the most gratifying parts of this job is seeing the smiles on people's faces. And sometimes even the tears that come from their eyes, tears of joy, when they recognize that they are on a demonstrably better path to better care than they were before they walked into our door. Their gratitude and the hope that they feel that now that they are on their way to getting better care.
Are they surprised that you're spending so much time with them?
They are blown away by that. They're really kind of touched by the fact that we are going to spend time. And I've had patients sometimes say, well, I've already taken up too much of your time. But I was saying, no. Good news is this is your time. This is your time for you and me to get to know each other and for you to get to know Oak Street and to see that difference.
You know, we talked in the green room, but you know, on that consultation, the first time you meet the patient and you're hearing their hard luck story or how confusing this whole thing has been, they've lost faith in healthcare, and sometimes you get excited. Why?
I get it. The excitement comes from the fact that they haven't seen what we can do yet. And when I'm hearing somebody tell me that, hey, I've got diabetes that I can't just cannot control, or I've been trying to quit smoking, I just cannot quit, and I just have that quiet confidence, that kind of secret, that little secret to myself to know that, hey, once they get to know us, we're going to make a difference.
Now, you have a community center. I guess you have an activities director with snacks and bingo and dancing and crafts. And one of your doctors said that they were line dancing or something with patients, computer. Is that more for just word of mouth for the community?
Primarily, it's about creating a great social network for our patients, ensuring that they have a place where they don't feel isolated, where they can feel like they're part of a community. You know, loneliness is a really, really dangerous issue in our senior population.
Okay.
Loneliness is as dangerous to the health of our patients as some chronic diseases like COPD. So isolation and loneliness is something we want to fight against. Our community rooms are really a clinical tool, as well as a community outreach tool for our patients to stay engaged with our practice, but also to stay engaged with others, to stay healthier.
And again, you get your, Oak Street makes their money, so to speak, by keeping people healthy.
Exactly.
Not just based on how many they see in a day.
And isn't that how it should be?
Is that an unusual model? Because I've been asking around here in California, and that model doesn't exist that I know of.
We're really at the vanguard of what's possible in primary care because we are paid to take care of our patients and to provide great quality. We're really providing wellness and care around being well rather than sick care, rather than the usual reactionary way of kind of saying, well, my patient's now sick, now I need to do something. We're trying to be 1, 2, 3 steps ahead of their conditions, keeping them healthy, keeping them doing well.
And if somebody's watching this and they want to go to Oak Street, chances are within 24 hours they're going to get an appointment.
Oh, yeah.
Is that right?
We've got same day, next day visits for brand new patients. They'll get a chance to meet our team, take a look around our center, get a real sense of the community and the feel of what our centers are like. They're going to meet with a primary care provider who's going to delve in deep and really try to understand them right from the very first visit. And that really matters. That's incredibly important. You know, everything begins from the beginning, and we've got to make sure that we are really investing in that.
Somebody watching this and they're not experiencing this type of primary care, what's the process to make that change?
It's simple. Go online to our website or call our toll-free number. You can be connected with somebody within a few minutes who will get you set up with an appointment. Once you become an Oak Street patient, once you've decided to make the switch, we're going to be able to get all your medical records in. We'll be able to get all that information in so that your provider knows everything that needs to be known about you by their first or second visit.
So your team makes the calls to their former primary care.
Exactly.
And does the work for the patient.
Exactly.
So they don't really have to lift a finger if they didn't want to.
Precisely. Really easy. Really kind of simple. Once they've completed that welcome visit, it kind of triggers a process where we're ingesting information from their different specialists, from their different primary care providers, from hospital visits they've had years before, bringing all that information to them. And oftentimes, one of the best parts of this experience is that our patients learn about things they didn't even know about themselves. Information from old hospital visits, from old doctor records, and I'm like, hey, I don't know if you knew that you had this. And being able to have that conversation and to explain that and teach that back to our patients and to learn the circumstances under which they got that care in the past, it really just builds their trust, and it builds in their growing knowledge of their own health and what their health is at this time. And
so if somebody's watching this and they want to make the change, chances are within the next 48 hours, they're at Oak Street.
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely. That simple.
Is this one of those things where the patients experience this type of care and they tell their friends, you got to switch to Oak Street?
Absolutely.
Does that ever happen?
It absolutely does. We have had the good fortune of not only just seeing not one spouse, but both spouses in a relationship, whole buildings, whole communities, just because one person had a great experience. And that really just has like a building effect of one great experience after the other, after the other. It's it's, I don't want to use the word viral, but that's probably the best way I would describe it.
Is there a fee to switch over?
No fees. You know, that's the other great thing. You can go from your previous primary care provider to an Oak Street provider without any extra cost.
You have a couple of sayings that you told me on the phone that you live by. One of them was, good care can't wait. Absolutely. What does that mean to you?
That really means that the time is now. When we see an issue that we can help, that we can make a difference in our patients, we should move heaven and earth to make sure that our patients can get the care that they need. I've had patients who I know could have benefited from our services before we came to their community, and now that we're helping them, we're now playing catch up, but we're getting it into the right direction for their care. So I never want to delay the good care that we can give our patients. So that's really critical. The second saying that I'm often telling my patients is, if you want to go fast, go alone. But if you want to go far, go with others. We have a team at Oak Street, because that really is the goal. We want to take our patients to new frontiers of where they think their health can be. And in order to get there, you need the whole Oak Street team, our providers, our social workers, our behavioral health specialists, our entire team out there helping our patients to live their best lives.
What do they like the most?
I think what strikes them most is that they suddenly feel like they're listened to, that the totality of their experiences are actually being recognized and being respected. And that care is built upon that. So they're feeling listened to, they're feeling cared for. That's the thing that I think really spurs so much joy and so much excitement about becoming an Oak Street patient, that they then share with their family members and their friends.
You're a regional medical director.
That's right.
Once a doctor goes from the traditional model of this fee-for-service and high volume, and they go to Oak Street, what are they most impressed about? Like, what do you hear from the doctors that make the switch too, that join Oak Street?
Our providers, whether they're doctors or nurse practitioners, I think what they recapture is the joy and the reasons why they came into medicine in the first place. They were able to really get to know their patients. They're having real relationships with their patients that they can build upon, and they're seeing the difference that Oak Street makes in our patients' lives. They're seeing their patients stay healthier. They're seeing their patients experience better living, and that's really what our goal is.
So prevention.
Absolute prevention, but
not just lip service to prevention.
Exactly, not just lip service, correct, but also ensuring that the prevention is geared towards helping our patients live better lives, fuller lives, where they're not burdened by the challenges of a chronic condition. What
do you do to get this awareness out there?
So we've got teams out there in the communities, in addition to our website and our telephone number where you can call and make an appointment. We also have teams out there in the communities we serve. They're at grocery stores, they're at senior events. At walkathons, you'll see Oak Street team members out there supporting the community and, for lack of a better term, evangelizing about what we do, spreading the good word about what Oak Street can do for our patients and for the communities we serve. And they're out there getting to know these patients and these folks, and then telling those stories back to our care teams, so that together, once that person arrives, we really know them better than they've ever been known before with their primary care provider.
Once a doctor practices primary care at Oak Street, you get a little spoiled because you have more time, right?
Yeah.
Could they go back to the old way?
Well,
Could you go back to the old way?
I would not go back to the old way, and I really hope that we are the new what the future looks like in medicine. I really do believe that's what we are. I think we are rebuilding healthcare as it should be, going back to that personalized, equitable, and accountable kind of care that really ensures that people are getting the most out of their healthcare experience, building on trust, and making sure that it's a satisfying experience, not only for the person providing the care, but for the person who gets the benefit of that care as well.
We are completely out of time. Final message. Somebody watching this is not the kind of primary care that they've ever heard of before. Mm-hmm. What do you say? And they're skeptical, right? Because you say most of these patients are skeptical initially. Yeah. What do you say to them?
Come to one of our centers. See the Oak Street difference for yourself. Come meet with one of our providers. Come meet with a team that's going to really try to make sure they understand you better than you've ever been understood before by another clinician or another medical provider, and really help us show you the difference of how you can live a healthier, happier life.
Do they ever say, like, I've never seen anything like this before? I've never experienced anything like this before?
All the time, and it's probably one of the best parts of my day.
You know, one of your doctors, in fact, we're going to have her on the program, she said, I lost my joy in medicine. I'm paraphrasing slightly. Yeah. And Oak Street gave it to me back. Mm-hmm. Where you get to literally let doctors be doctors again.
Exactly. We let our colleagues do what they've been trained to do, which is to take great care of people, giving them a free road to be able to really chart out a path for our patients and really make sure that we're really delivering this care in a thoughtful and really joyful way.
When you say the doctors, and I'm paraphrasing you slightly, but you said that they get to work at the cutting edge of their specialty. Mm-hmm. What does that mean?
So that means that they're being tasked to really use all the skills and all of the talents that they've developed over years of study and sacrifice to really understand what their patients are doing and what their patients' needs are. So we're not having them spend a whole bunch of time dealing with bureaucratic stuff that can sometimes get in the way of good care, really allowing them to focus on what our patients need. By having our scribes in the room with our patients, we're really understanding our patients, listening to them, focused on them, making great eye contact, and then doing really thorough physical exams that we can then capture and really understand our patients.
Dr. Fayanju, great to have you on the show.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it. You've been watching the Wellness Hour news that makes you healthier. I'm Randy Alvarez. For now, I wish you good health.
Esto fue un comercial, ¿eh? No, miren que está el comercial. Y esto es lo que yo estaba viendo. Pero bueno, me interesó porque hablan especialistas que cambian al paciente que tiene enfermedades, diversas enfermedades, le cambian la mentalidad como positiva, ¿no? Y le quitan el estrés, le quitan, bueno, muchos factores, ¿no? Yo no sé qué estarán haciendo conmigo, pero yo veo que mi salud se recupera, yo estoy bien, estoy tranquilo, no tengo problemas con nadie. Ustedes saben que yo no uso el dinero, no sé, es un factor importante porque todo el mundo se puede estresar por el dinero, por la necesidad de cosas que necesita cualquier persona, como cualquier persona, como yo necesito, ¿no? Pero el Señor me enseñó a no depender de eso. Y lo ha logrado el Señor conmigo. Es algo increíble. Yo no dependo del dinero. O sea, porque miren, esto de pagar la cuenta del teléfono lo hace el Señor. Si no quieren más juicio, se termina el juicio y se acabó. Y yo veo las cosas que el Señor dijo. Si tú te dejas llevar por lo que ves, te van a confundir. Y yo no veo al Señor, pero lo escucho. Y los consejos que me da el Señor me dan vida. Me rehabilitan lo que ellos hablan sobre muchas cosas. Como la enfermedad de miastenia gravis. No lo dicen ahí, pero miastenia gravis puede ser un factor que te lleve pues a decaerte, ¿no? Y si tu pensamiento es así, todo el cuerpo lo percibe y vienen otras complicaciones. Y eso es lo que nos sucede conmigo. Y ustedes ven acá que hay compañía, acá no hay compañía. Solamente mi Señor, ¿no? Bueno, ojalá que me pueda subir el video porque es un comercial, no es una propaganda. Pero bueno, voy a ver si lo puedo subir o no, o cómo lo acepten, vamos a ver. Me comunico.